This is the Get Savvy Show, brought to you by the Reluctant Leader Academy. I'm your host, Mark Terrell, and on each episode, I'm going to help you get savvy to allow you and your business to grow. We'll be focusing on the three elements that lead to business success: your mindset, your processes, and your skills. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Get Savvy Show by the Reluctant Leader Academy. I'm Mark Terrell, and today we're going to be talking about negotiating and influencing and the different types of styles we can use, and ultimately moving towards a win-win situation so that we can avoid conflict. So let's share some info with you. So let's first of all look at some influencing styles. Firstly, there's the asserting style, which is useful when we want to maybe resist overly over sales pressure, something like that. So it's asserting our position. Next one, persuading. This is good for convincing others when you have a strong case. Then bridging, really useful when you want close cooperation. When you have something that you need people to work closely together to create something and make something happen. Attracting is useful when you want to energize, inspire others, and to bring about something that you have been planning for a while maybe. And then there's also moving away, which is quite useful sometimes when maybe there is potential for conflict and it's probably not worth getting involved. Hi Lisa, thanks for joining. Feel free to comment anything that you see that pops up that might be useful. So these are the influencing styles that we can use in various situations, and it's worth taking into account which ones are best used at different times. It's using the right one at the right time is the essential thing to remember here. And we don't want to be just relying on one influencing style. We need to be appropriate to the outcome that we're working towards. So that's a quick overview of the influencing styles. So how do we move towards negotiating for a win-win? So here we have two axes, if I can say it, where we can plot, where we can think of our own interests against other people's interests. And of course, what we want to be working towards is it's a win-win. So we want to make sure that we get what we want and also cover what the other person wants. So when we are going into any sort of conversation with regards to looking for an outcome, we want to not only be concerned with what we want, we've got to be aware of what the other party might be looking for and get to a point where we get to as close as possible to a win-win. So let's have a look at different places where we could be on this grid. Firstly, if we are in a position of only thinking about ourselves and not particularly the other person's interest, then we are probably competing. And you'll notice there it says I plus you, I, and that's to do with the I'm okay, you're okay model, and I covered that in another episode, so check back on that. So we don't want to necessarily be in this position. It might be appropriate sometimes, but not necessarily when we want to get to that win-win, because really we're being very specific on what we want as opposed to what the other party might want. That could be possible, actually, at least. That's a good point. Psychometric profiling is really useful to understand your preferred style. And if we look into that, well, maybe cover that on another episode. But yeah, it's a good point, because it's our personality, behavioural style, which we tend to go to our sort of comfort zone where we feel most comfortable. So yes, that's a great point. Hi Claire, nice to see you here. So competing is one thing, but we don't really want that necessarily, because we want to be working towards the win-win situation whenever we can. So the next one is avoiding. So this is where we're not really getting an outcome which is suited to either party. So we're not getting what we want and the other party isn't getting what they want. So really what we're doing is just avoiding the situation, maybe for another day or for never getting something resolved. And when we talk about this, the passive situation where we're not wanting to engage and we're avoiding it completely. So obviously not a good place to approach the situation. Then we can be the nice guy where we are giving up everything that we want for the other person. So again, obviously that's not great, in that we're not getting anything that we want. We're just trying to be nice for the sake of maybe for a relationship, but ultimately we're forgetting what we actually set out to try to achieve. So not the best place to be. So this is where we want to start to be moving towards. So the middle of the road situation where we're compromising. So we are getting some of what we want and some of what the other person wants. So we are getting a situation where we are getting to a win-win, and we are understanding each other. We are appreciating what the other person wants from the negotiation, and we're getting towards that win-win situation. Well, you could say this is a win-win, but maybe not the 100% win-win that we really want. So the ultimate goal is to work towards the cooperating situation where we get everything we want and the other party gets what they want. So this is where we want to use the different styles of negotiating and asserting and our having those conversations to allow that win-win situation to happen, and that's where we want to always have that in mind. So compromising is one situation when we both get some degree of what we want, but ultimately the cooperating negotiating style is ultimately the best place to come from. So this is something we cover in the Get Savvy Club. There's a questionnaire where we find out where your natural style is, and once you know that, then you can be wary of it. But a lot of this stuff is, once you are aware of something, then you can take action maybe to adjust, because if you're overly using one of these, you might not be actually getting the best result for yourself. You might be giving up everything for the other party, maybe avoiding, maybe accommodating or competing just to get your own way. But actually, once you're aware of what your natural style is, then you can move towards that compromising or cooperating position. So that's a quick look at negotiating and influencing styles. Of course, I've only skimmed over the subject, and we cover it quite in detail in the Get Savvy Club. So the details of that are below, and I'll put a link in the comments if you're interested in that. So that's it for this short episode of the Get Savvy show. Thanks for joining Lisa and Claire. And if you catch this on your feed and you want to make any comments, ask any questions, then feel free and I will reply to them. So until the next episode of the Get Savvy show, I'll say goodbye and have a great day.